Welcome, Detective Geathers.
When we left off, 4 deaths that initially appeared natural had become 4 homicide investigations, 4 elderly cancer patients, 4 separate hospitals, 4 separate boroughs, and one increasingly disturbing conclusion: someone had been moving through medical facilities unnoticed. The victims had entered hospitals seeking treatment. Their families believed they were losing loved ones to illness. Doctors believed they were witnessing the final stages of terminal disease. Then science intervened. The medical examiner's office re-examined the deaths and discovered evidence that could not be explained by natural causes alone. The conclusion transformed the investigation overnight. Hospital administrators tightened security. Visitor procedures changed. Staff became more vigilant. None of it appeared to matter, because the killer wasn't breaking into hospitals. The killer was blending into them. Tonight, Detective Shiela Geathers reveals how investigators began examining suspects, how forensic specialists started assembling the first real pieces of evidence, and how the discovery of a historical homicide technique convinced detectives they were dealing with someone who had studied murder long before committing it. Detective, tell the audience what happened after the medical examiner's findings.
The medical examiner's findings changed everything. Before that report, we were investigating unusual deaths. After that report, we were investigating a serial killer. The distinction mattered. A person who commits one murder may act for a specific reason. A person who commits multiple murders across 4 separate hospitals is operating according to a process. The question became simple. Who possessed the access, knowledge, and opportunity necessary to move through multiple medical facilities without attracting attention? The investigation immediately turned inward. We examined doctors, nurses, administrative staff, volunteers, former employees, contractors, anyone capable of entering patient areas without appearing unusual. The 5th suspect emerged quickly. His name was Peter Burgess. Peter was a nurse who had accumulated disciplinary complaints throughout his career. Several co-workers described him as argumentative. Others described him as difficult. Personnel records documented disputes with supervisors and complaints from patients. Most importantly, Peter had worked shifts overlapping with 2 of the victims. Initially, the connection looked promising. Investigators reviewed years of employment records, security logs, scheduling information, and witness statements. For several days, Peter remained our strongest suspect. Then, the timeline began falling apart. Records placed him elsewhere during critical periods. Witnesses confirmed portions of his movements. The deeper we looked, the weaker the theory became. We did not clear him. Not yet. But the evidence stopped moving toward him. That distinction would become important later. At approximately the same time, forensic specialists began re-examining every aspect of the murders. The medical examiner's office focused heavily on similarities between the victims: age, diagnosis, location, circumstances. The pattern was undeniable. More importantly, the victims appeared selected according to a specific profile: elderly, terminally ill, hospitalized, expected to die naturally. Those characteristics dramatically reduced scrutiny. A murderer choosing such victims understood that reality. That realization bothered me because it suggested planning, not merely operational planning, intellectual planning. The offender appeared to understand exactly how investigations worked. The breakthrough came during a discussion with one of the forensic pathologists. He described a historical homicide technique known as burking, a method associated with concealment rather than overt violence, a method designed specifically to leave limited evidence, a method requiring close physical contact and confidence. The moment he explained it, the room changed, because suddenly the murders stopped looking opportunistic. They started looking studied. Someone had researched this. Someone had learned it. Someone had chosen it deliberately. And people who study murder before committing it rarely stop after one success. That realization settled heavily over the investigation, because it suggested obsession. An obsession creates repetition.
Detective, When investigators realized the killer appeared to be following a learned method rather than improvising, did that change the way you approached the suspect pool?
Completely. We stopped asking who could commit the murders. We started asking who would study them. We returned to looking at another suspect, Dr. Aaron Keene. Aaron worked within a hospital network associated with one of the victims. He possessed extensive medical knowledge. He understood patient care. He understood terminal illness. Most importantly, he understood how death appears within medical environments. That combination immediately attracted attention. Investigators reviewed his history carefully. No criminal record, no disciplinary actions, no obvious motive. Yet his professional background aligned with aspects of the offender profile. Again, we had pieces, not conclusions. At the same time, we took another look at another suspect, Samuel Price, a retired hospital administrator who maintained relationships throughout multiple facilities. Samuel regularly visited hospitals long after retirement. Security footage placed him in 2 of the facilities under investigation. Nothing directly connected him to the victims, but his presence was difficult to ignore. Once again, investigators found themselves confronting possibility rather than proof. We also went back to look at Thomas Vance. Unofficially, Thomas seemed to know everyone. Nurses recognized him. Patients trusted him. Families remembered him. He moved comfortably through medical environments. The same characteristic that made him effective also made him concerning, because the offender appeared comfortable too. By this stage, we had 4 suspects, 5 theories, 5 incomplete explanations. None satisfied the evidence completely. Then forensic analysts delivered another piece of the puzzle. Security footage. Not enough to identify anyone. Not enough to support an arrest, but enough to establish something important. The same unidentified male appeared in proximity to multiple facilities. The image quality was poor, the figure indistinct, yet the pattern was there. Someone was moving between locations. Someone was repeating behavior. Someone was becoming increasingly confident. That frightened me more than anything else. Confident offenders take risks. Confident offenders escalate. Confident offenders believe they are invisible. The investigation continued. Interviews became interrogations. Interrogations became pressure. Pressure became mistakes. Peter Burgess sat across from detectives 3 separate times. Aaron Keene did the same. Samuel Price did the same. Thomas Vance did the same. Each man explained his movements. Each man answered questions. Each man generated suspicion. And each man left us uncertain. The evidence continued pointing in multiple directions. None of them fully aligned. There was one other suspect, Richard Vale, but we stopped looking at him because there was not enough supporting evidence to keep him under consideration, in our estimation.
Detective, with 4 viable suspects, a growing body of forensic evidence, and increasing signs that the killer was becoming more confident, what finally convinced you that another murder might already be approaching?
Because the pattern changed. The first 4 deaths occurred over a period of time. Then the spacing shortened. That mattered. Offenders operating according to a process often become more efficient as their confidence grows. When we reviewed hospital admissions matching the victim profile, one patient immediately concerned investigators. 81 years old, terminal diagnosis, recently transferred. No family present overnight. The profile fit too well. We increased attention. We increased surveillance. We increased communication with hospital staff. And none of it was enough. 3 nights later, before detectives could identify the person responsible, a 5th patient died. The death looked natural, just like the first 4. And standing inside that hospital room, staring at another investigation, beginning exactly where the previous 4 had ended, I realized something deeply unsettling. The killer wasn't reacting to our investigation. The killer was staying ahead of it. And for the first time since the case began, I genuinely feared we were losing.